Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be a makeup hacks video. I am basically doing this video for my sisters. Not gonna lie, I get questions on like how I do my eyebrows, how I apply fake eyelashes, how I do certain eyeshadow looks, and also like sisters always text me like, Indy, how did you do this? And I thought, why not just make a video, then they can watch it, and also like people who watch my videos who want to know how I do something a certain way, you can just watch this. By the way, I'm not sure if I'm liking this lighting or not. It could change throughout the video, so sorry in advance. Yeah, I'm just gonna say I ain't obviously a makeup artist. Like, these are the techniques which I find work for me, and they could work for you, they couldn't, but this is what I find works the best. So as well, at the moment I've got my window shut and I am sweating, so if it gets too hot I might have to open it, so if you can hear noise, also sorry as well. So the first like tip, or it's not a hack, but always apply moisturizer. I haven't obviously applied any yet, but before I do my makeup I always wear moisturizer. Even if you don't wear primer, always wear moisturizer because your foundation won't sit nicely. Also, even though we barely get sun in England, moisturizer does have SPF in it, and obviously that protects your face from the sun, so it's just a better idea if you always wear moisturizer. When you're massaging it into your face, they say that you should always massage up because gravity pulls your face down. So for foundation, you can either apply it with a sponge, I've got a beauty blender, or a brush. My choice of brush is the Real Techniques buffing brush. I think buffs it in and leaves you with a flawless base. If you choose to use a sponge, it makes it more flawless and more subtle, as the sponge soaks half the product in, whereas if you use a brush, all the product is going onto your face and it will be a bit more full coverage. My preference is a brush because I find it takes way longer if you do it with a sponge, but that's just my preference. You could prefer using a sponge, but I apply a pump and a half, and then if I need to go back then I'll add a bit more because less is always more. Also, when finding your foundation, always look into it and always look into what formula the foundation is, because if you've got dry skin then don't go for a matte foundation. If you've got oily skin then don't go for like illuminating foundation. It's just all based on what your skin type is. And when blending, this is just obvious, always blend always blend on your jawline and down your neck, and also your ears, because your ears are normally paler than your face because your hair does cover it. What I do like to do though, at the end, I like going over with my beauty blender to make sure there is no lines for the bristles of the brush and to make sure I've got a flawless base. I'm going to move on to eyebrows. Normally I do my concealer, but considering I'm going to be doing a big like eyeshadow look, I don't want any fallout and I would rather clean up the edges with my concealer afterwards. So this is very close to comfort. For my eyebrows I use the Anastasia Beverly Hills brush in, I don't actually know what one it is, but it's just the angled one. And normally I would use the Anastasia pomade, dip brow pomade, but I have run out of it, so I use the Revolution like little palette. And I like to use a pomade for my eyebrows. It depends on what how you like to fill them in. I feel like a pencil doesn't work for me. Everybody has a different arch. My arch is not that high, but it's a little bit high. Your arch should always be diagonal to from here and then here. That's how you know where your arch is. And then the end of your tail should always end there. So I like to get a bit of the brown pomade, and I like to start on the outer edge and just drag it down. I like to get a bit more product and then draw my arch just like that. There's a missing gap here where it's a bit sparse. I get a bit of brown powder and I slowly fill it in, but I don't go all the way to the front. And then I get my spoolie and I just brush it through. Then I get the lighter brown and then I start brushing a line at the beginning of my eyebrow, but not putting too much pressure on it. And I like to do like little feather strokes at the beginning to recreate hair strokes. And then I go back in with my pomade and I like to do the tail. But where I did my tail underneath, I just go above it and you've naturally got a line anyways, so you just follow it. And then at the front I like to draw a line and then brush it through. So I'm not adding any extra product onto my brush, I'm just using the product which is already on my brush, so it gives that faded look. And then if you've got any gaps in your eyebrow, just go in with some powder and then dab it on. And then I always like to go in with some concealer, and I've got the Collection Lost in Perfection in shade 0. I like to go in with one of these flat brushes, and you can find these anywhere sell them, Real Technique sell them. And I like to get just a little bit, so I scrape a little bit off the doe foot and I just drag a line underneath my eyebrows. And then I like to drag the remaining concealer all over my lid and then get a sponge and then just blend it all out. And then to finish off the brows, I finish off with brow gel. I use a Collection Incredibrow. It's not my favourite. I used to use the Pixie one, which I thought was really good. I just don't like the brush, it's way too big. But yeah, that's one eyebrow obviously undone, and that's the eyebrow which is done. And I would say my eyebrows are they quite big? I don't know. But this will work with any eyebrows, whether you've got thin eyebrows, whether you've got big eyebrows, whether you've got middle eyebrows. Like, it's all about just finding your tail and just making sure you've got that shape to them. So I'm going to go off and do the other eyebrow off camera. To move on to eyeshadow, and I'm going to do like a brightish kind of look. So if you like your eyeshadow more rounded and like more smoked out, then just do your eyeshadow normally. Whereas if you want it to be like a sharp line, then put sellotape on the corners of your eyes and that will give you that sharp effect. So I kind of want like a sunset vibe, so I'm going to begin with like a reddy orangey colour. So I'm going to use my Sophie Does Nails palette and blend that colour and the colour next to it, and then tap off your brush so you don't get fallout. Make sure it's fully blended. Blend in circular motions. What you do is tap where you would like the product and then blend it out. Therefore you get all the product on your eye and it looks bright. And I'm going to do that to both eyes so I look crazy. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get the colour I want. And if you're still not sure how to blend, start with wind wiper motions, because then you would get the roundness of your eye. Also, I'm not applying the eyeshadow all the way up to my brow bone because we are going to put an extra colour above it. So when you're blending, make sure to just blend it in the crease. And it doesn't matter if it gets on your lid because we will be cutting that crease. That lid. So now I've got that eyeshadow set on my eyelid, I'm gonna go into my Urban Decay palette and use a very small brush, and I'm gonna be applying yellow right above it for that sunset vibe. Shade Calvet, I don't know how to say it. I'm gonna be using it yellow shade. As I made the eyeshadow quite rounded, you just want to draw the yellow all around the outer edges. Sure to not bring it too low. Now that the yellow is in place, I'm going to add a bit more of the reddy colour onto my lid. The tip to eyeshadow is just don't stop blending, honestly. Also, I feel like you get better results if you do use a high-end palette. Most of my makeup is drugstore, but when it comes to eyeshadow, I feel like higher-end eyeshadow palettes perform better. I've got the Modern Renaissance by Anastasia, and I've got the Colourpop one. Right, so now I'm going to do a cut crease, and what I like to do for my cut crease is apply the concealer on my lid and then look up. It should cover most of your lid and then just drag it outwards. So use the same brush as I used earlier on my eyebrows, and then I just like to get the concealer and then put it halfway across my lid, then look up, and then you should get that line. Right, so now I've got the base down, I am now going to apply the sellotape on the corners of my eye, and you want to make sure that it lines up with your eyebrow, and then set the eyelid with just a cream coloured eyeshadow. I'm going to make the outer corner quite dark, so I'm going to use a dark brown, And then I'm just going to get a little blending brush and blend that out. I'm not going to blend the colour too high, just where I placed it. Thanks neighbours. I'm just going to use this Makeup Revolution liquid eyeshadow in the shade Trailblaze, and I'm just going to apply that at the beginning of where I put the cut crease. Trick is as well, when you're doing something like this, always look down into your mirror, so then it's easier to apply. I love when you're trying to film and your neighbours are annoying. And then I'm just going to get the brush I used for the black and then go over the top so it's blended. Also, if you're not going to do this crazy eyeshadow and you don't know how to do liner, I still recommend doing this. And the way I do eyeliner, I don't even know if this counts, but I normally get an angled eyeshadow brush and draw my flick because I am awful at doing eyeliner. I'm going to use eyeliner, but I'm not going to use a wing. But yeah, if you can't do wings, then just trace. It don't even matter if you haven't got an angled one, just get a thin eyeshadow brush, trace the line and then fill it in with the actual liner. Lashes, I'm going to use these big ones because I don't have any other ones and I need to go out and buy more. For lashes, if you're going to wear lashes, invest in a good glue, because if you use the glue which comes to it, it's most likely to come off your eyelids. But I recommend the Duo lash glue. You can get it from Superdrug. When I went Primark the other day, they had it in Primark, so yeah, you can get this roughly anywhere. So while my lash glue dries, I like to apply mascara. I like to do it beforehand so then your eyelashes blend with the fake ones. But yeah, if you're going to wear eyelashes, make sure you do cut them down so they fit your eyelashes. I would recommend cutting off the inner corner because that always comes off and you might as well just cut it off. I use a pair of tweezers and these lashes are very big. I like to get it at the middle but at the very top, and then below I'll let the glue dry for like 30 seconds to a minute because you want it tacky so it sticks to your eye. And then what I do is I look into a mirror. I've got my mirror here and I look down and then I just press the lash into my eye and then hold it for like 5 seconds and then push the corners in. So place it and then don't look, just keep looking in your mirror and then push it into the outer corner, then grab your tweezers and then push it into the inner corner, and voila, and then Bob's your uncle. Right, so I'm going to move on to concealer, and I always like to use a shade which is lighter than my actual skin tone so I can highlight with it. Thank you, just what I wanted. I like to do it in this shape, and then when I blend it, I blend this bottom bit first. I don't touch the top, and then I carry on blending the bottom and I just look up without going into the inner corners because I feel like it blends it more flawlessly. Once it looks blended, then go into the inner corners and then look up again. But I find this way you're distributing the product more evenly rather than packing all of it on this side or this side. And then for the rest of my face, I like to apply it around my nose and then on my nose because I've got a few imperfections, on my chin. By putting it on the centre of your face, it then highlights the centre of your face. So for contour, as I need to bronze up my face, if you want to go full glam, then I recommend going for a cream contour as a base because then it looks more natural and then you can apply the powder on top. But to find your cheekbones, even if you ain't got prominent ones, I really don't have that quite prominent. I just start from the middle of my ear and drag just before the corner of my mouth. And then I just apply it to my forehead to give me a bronze look. And tip here, if you want it a bit more blended out, use a Duo fibre brush. If you use a Duo fibre brush, it's not as harsh. The bristles blend it way more seamlessly rather than a normal brush. And if you find you've applied the bronzer too far down your face, you can always get a sponge and then get some loose powder or even just normal powder and just drag it underneath. To finish off the eyes, I'm going to use the first colour we used on our eyes, which was the Ready colour, and I'm going to apply that underneath my eyes. I would always recommend having blush, because I feel like it just gives your face back that colour. Even if you have bronzed, it will just bring you back to life and make you look more healthy. The ones I recommend is this Zoella one, the NARS Orgasm, that is my favourite, and then California by Benefit. For highlight, I recommend putting a cream one on underneath as a base, because then you will have a very stronger highlight. And I like blending out with my fingers, because the warmth of your fingers will melt it into your skin. And if you're not very good at applying highlight, I recommend buying a fan brush, because it places the product without you having to put it anywhere, and you just put it at the tops of your cheeks. Lastly, to highlight our brows, I saw this picture which I'll put here, and it shows you where you should highlight your brows depending on your brow shape. If you're trying to make your lipstick last all night, I definitely recommend putting a lip liner before your actual lipstick, because then it will have an extra base for it to come off. And if you want your makeup to last all night, use some setting spray. Right, so I have just filmed this makeup look. If you like it, then give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!